So, long story short, I haven't been working on this house in a while. And on the exterior, I've been doing stuff with my girlfriend and her projects, but I'm gonna start to sand over here. I think I have video from the past that I might have taken on a lesser item than even my phone, a Cassie or something, some knockoff GoPro. I'll try to weave that into the beginning, but my plan is for now is I'm not going to scrape. I'm going to just sand, and then I'll get more serious with any of that. But my goal is in the near future to get this all primed out. And I'm just doing this on my phone real quick. I might film some of it on time lapse, but I'm going to hook up to the vacuum, and I want to get this all taken care of. I do have wood where the reason why I waited was I've been busy with work and actually gardening. Might try to replace some of this, but for now I do have the wood for it, but might have to plane it. But for now I just want to try to get anything knocked off of it, so I have to drop out and get started on this. Hope to get it primed, but you can see there's some spaces there where it needs to be scraped. I don't think the sander will get in there or knock it out. This kind of the same thing. So, and there's undoubtedly lead chips in there. I can't win. I did take care of like a backwards L to get that electrical service changed, and that's just one coat of paint there, and didn't do anything with the trim. The plan is to do all the body and then deal with the trim at another time. This stuff's got insect damage. It's a mess. The previous owner ripped out the original windows, put in vinyl replacement, and it got smacked by the town for violating historical ordinances. So he had to retrofit wooden replacement windows, except for these. They weren't visible from the street. He got out of it, but anything else, those are all wood. This is this is taper sawn stuff, and it's just brittle. It's garbage, honestly. And it's a mix of taper sawn and the real stuff. When it has this like fiber, the grain to it, it's taper sawn. When it's smooth, it was hand cut, hand planed, and I frankly like it a lot better. I don't want the house to look perfect. I want it to look old and well taken care of. So getting in here, you know, they went, I don't even think they primed it. That's just an abomination. So I'm gonna have to, I don't know how I'm gonna do some of this. It's gonna be pretty aggravating. Latex paint doesn't penetrate wood. You can tell yourself it's going to, but it'll look like this in due time. So if you're doing paint to sell, have fun, but if you intend to keep the place, you know, do it the right way. And even if you're gonna sell it, do it the right way. You'll feel better about yourself. All right, so I'm gonna be hooking my orbital into, where's my orbital? It's around. What the heck did I do with it? It's around, trust me. I'm gonna be hooking into this hose, into this vacuum, which has a HEPA bag. I'm gonna get up on the ladder. I made a mistake of getting busy with work, and I don't know, I had some flu this year that kind of got to me for a couple weeks, and then it got hot. I was just busy, but I'm gonna take as much of this down to bare wood as I can, get that silvery looking fiber off of it, get it ready for priming. It's been scraped, it's been prepped. In fact, one of the goals, the benefits rather, you can see the swirl marks because I was using a flapper disc, so I'm going to try to knock some of that down. A few areas will need better attention. Maybe since they've been sitting there, they'll give up the ghost easily. I doubt it. I'll probably have to fight it. I'm trying to get away from using the paint shaver as much as I can, because I just, they work. The diamond brush works. They fight you. They take off too much, and they physically kick the you know what out of you. And if I can avoid all of that, I'd be happy. I have a heat torch here, an electric one. I am absolutely not putting a flame on the house. I also have something called a paint iron. It's out of production from Red Devil, which I can use for some of that stuff. So I'm going to set you up on time lapse. I'll be back. All right, so right here I set up, and I just from ground level I start sanding the weathered wood. I was trying to find the footage from where I originally started prepping this. I was either using the diamond brush attachment, which hooks up to the angle grinder, or flapper wheels that welders use. But I let it sit, and then the rain, it sat for probably a year, being honest with you, which is embarrassing to admit, but it's the truth. And don't let that happen if you do this. So I had to sand everything to open it up, and it makes it look like it's not too bad when you're watching it on here, but in reality, this was all time lapse. You look at the sky and how quickly it's moving in the upper part of the screen. So this goes very slowly. The results are very gratifying, but you probably have a job like I do and don't have time to do this. So, find time for it. Just stick to it no matter what. Whether anything, don't stop working on it. All right, so I just hit the time lapse to shut off. I just did roughly a 20 square foot section here, and I don't even have this dropped out properly yet. Just everything keeps getting in the way of me getting onto the house here. I have to run my scraper underneath here and try to knock that stuff off. That's not going to lend itself well to the orbital sander. I do have a square sander, but I'm just trying to economize my time. You can see there's areas where it's skipping over. See how this is flapping? This is a common problem with old siding, clapboard. It's really kind of in there, but not really. If I grabbed on this hard, I could pull it right off. I will fix that, but I'm gonna be guilty of doing something I usually look down upon, which is doing the crowd pleasers. So I want to get primer and paint on the house, and you're gonna see me cutting some corners. Now I've been saving these sanding discs here because even though my sander's actually giving up the ghost, I have to either get a all right, that's not touching it. This is 40 grit. Sometimes you can milk it a little more and use it just as sandpaper to get into tight spots. All right, I'm just gonna double prime that, see if it'll get in here a little bit. This is futile. I'm gonna hand scrape this to get the lamination off the weathered wood, whatever you want to call it. So my plan is prime paint, and then I'll go back and fasten, and then probably do a second coat. I'm kind of loath to put a second coat on. This stuff is a 50-year warranty, but you can see where it's thin in places. It's fantastic paint, duration from Sherwin-Williams. I'm just trying not to build up the millage on it again. That way when I'm old, if it needs another paint job, I've got that extra coat of paint that it'll take before it needs to be stripped back off, because I won't have the money by then, nor will I be able to do it. So, and by then there'll probably be very few people that do this, unless I end up having grandchildren who are boys and idolize me, which highly unlikely any of that'll happen. So I'm gonna go get some drop cloths and just kind of throw them over this spot here to catch the chips, and I'm gonna do a little bit of prep, and then I'm gonna jump back on the sander. When it gets dark out, I'm gonna go buy a new sander though, because it's not holding onto the pads. They're flying off prematurely because the Velcro is giving up the ghost. But here's my setup. There's a vacuum bag in there, just a bunch of Foundling vac hoses into the sander. The vacuum's always running when the sander's running. It keeps the paper from loading up prematurely, and it keeps it out of your face. I still wear a respirator and hearing protection. All right, I'll be back. Thanks. All right, I dropped out a little bit. It's still no good. I'm gonna stand over here and take this out of the job up as far as I can reach, and then I'm gonna have to segue to the ladder. I think what I'm gonna do for day one, just to knock the rust off of me, so to speak, is I'm going to focus on the stuff that just needs to be sanded, and then I'll come back tomorrow hopefully and start doing the crappy stuff that requires more effort. So maybe at the end of tomorrow I'll be able to throw a coat of primer on. That's the goal. I'm just trying to move this along.
All right, I'm gonna try to, this is a sword scraper. See how it's knocking it down a little bit? It's not perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than I was getting with the orbital. I'm going across the grain instead of with it. With it, it's just gonna skate along. Just a little bit. You angle the blade off the surface to kind of get with the crevices there. I also have one of those Swedish Sandviks. This blade's very worn, but you're able to exert more pressure by the design. But on thick coatings, it'll just scrape over. I might chase. I did a little bit of tear out there. I'll probably chase it with the abrasives, the sander. Okay, let that go. I'm not exaggerating the noises I'm making. I'm miserable. Try to hit up there. That tuckers a fella out. This was a big mistake of mine. I should have. I'm trying to do one thing at a time here. Deciding that I'll go back and chase this, but this I'm going to take off the brick molding. I'm going to pluck it off here and expose this underneath. Although this is going to get replaced, who am I kidding? We'll see what I run into. That'll be a different video down the road, and I'll be delighted to film it because that'll mean the house is painted. Alright, thanks. I'll be back. I don't know how well this is going to work. I'm, 15, 20 feet above ground, something like that. So, there's areas right here where there's low spots, and I almost want to bring the flapper disc that welders use to get this, to kind of plane it down a little bit, and then chase it with the 40 grit. It's just not doing very well. I want to see how this is going to do too. Not well. Oh great, there's staples in it. Because that was a good idea. This, I think this house had a little bit of siding on it, so there was probably insulation. But, you know, this is hard, and it'll make you, it'll bring you to your last, you know, win. It really is terrible to do. The results are awesome, but the journey, not so much. My arms already feel like they're gonna fall off, but I've barely done anything. Oh boy. More staples. Well, I shouldn't be doing this without a hand on the ladder, so I'm gonna get back to what I was doing. Alright, this thing's fighting me. So I'm gonna pull some of my stuff back off the street, try to go buy a new one. I'm pretty upset. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, that sander was giving me problems the other day. I was hoping I could milk it, but nah. So hopefully I'll have some daylight left to be able to keep working. Probably not. All right, I'm back. I got the orbital from Rigid. Supposedly it's a lifetime parts and sander warranty. That's pretty interesting. I'll have to save the box. So I'm working by light here. Not so much so I can video, but so I could just get the work done. So let's see how this new one does. Wish me luck. All right, thanks. lost a lot of time because of having to buy that rigid orbital sander. I love it, by the way. So I have a couple spots I'm gonna have to catch over there. I couldn't reach them, and I'm having a hard time now that I'm older getting pressure at the ends of my reach. And I'm not gonna do that pirouetting where I put a leg out in the opposite direction to keep my center of gravity over the ladder. I'm getting old, people. So I moved the ladder back up and over, and I'm gonna take as much as I can out. Then I'm gonna drop the ladder down, and I'm probably gonna kick the can right slightly above window level until tomorrow. So I'm taking what I can out of the job, and then I'll prime it, and then put the brush in the thinner, and then just chip away at this catch as a catch can. That's all I can do. I'm really loath to put finish coat on until I take the gable end out of the job, and I haven't really touched that. That's why I bought the paint iron or whatever from Red Devil. It's out of production, unfortunately, because I think that'll be helpful up there. We'll see. I may have to bust out the paint shaver or the dimer brushes. It's gonna give me fits. I'll be miserable, but at least as you go up, you lose board length, so the square footage goes down and down and down as you go up, so that should cushion the blow. But what I'm loath to do is I gotta kind of feather it at the end, because if you see there's gaps under those that fascia board there, the lower fascia board, there's probably a different word for it. I have to you know, be judicious at the end there, because I'm not going to pluck that off. That last section before this voiceover with the sound, I know it's kind of grating, but I wanted to give you an idea of what it's like. And then imagine you have hearing protection in your ears and you're the one doing it. It's very claustrophobic, even though you're up on a ladder. With a bird's eye view of your property. I really enjoy doing this work, but it kicks me in the pants. It really tuckers me out. At night, if you have the right kind of lighting, you can work. And what I mean by night, like daylight, you know, in the fall or the winter when you have short days, and it's still dinner time, but it's pitch dark out, you can still work, but anything that requires fine detail, you're better off with, you know, daylight, because the shadows start to mess with your depth perception, and it gets to be unnerving after a while. You cast your own shadow. Those pull apple trees to my right in this picture, they cast you know, additional shadows, and it really messes with you. It's like going into a restaurant when you're in your 50s and trying to read a menu, only a lot worse than that because you're up on a ladder. So anyways, we're going to wrap this video up. I appreciate you watching. Hang on. So any place where you see paint, even though it looks like it's been sanded, I stopped kind of in the middle of the prep process. It needs to be, if I'm lucky, I'll be able to hit it with a flapper wheel. I think what I did was I hit it with a dimer brush, but never got to the flapper wheel, because the process was pressure wash, dimer brush with the grinder, with a smaller amperage grinder, the flapper wheel, then the orbital, and then you prime and paint. It's a heck of a lot of steps. It's really an argument for buying AZEK siding boards and replacing, but I live in a historic district and I didn't want to do that. Also, probably couldn't afford it. So the sanding was working successfully, where I probably had already sanded this, but I let it weather, so I just was knocking off the pickle white, if you will, the bleaching from the sun and the delamination that goes along with it. But where you have paint left, the sanding, the 40 grit and 40 grit's pretty, you know, coarse. It just skips right over it, loads up, does very little to it. I'm getting terrible results, and there isn't enough time to you know, get through that, and you can't get any leverage. Maybe if I had the boards on a bench, I could just press on it with all my excess weight and cut through it. But when you're up on a vertical surface, it's absolutely not working. So I have a few spots I can catch, and then I can jump down there. That was prepped, but I planned on taking these boards out. Maybe I'll talk myself out of it. But there's gaps because the boards have split, so I probably should replace them. But down here where these trees are obstructing things, I'm gonna have to at least skip over to the flapper wheel, and then maybe go back in behind it and chase it with the orbital. So I've only just begun this nightmare, and I actually do like doing this. It's just I never made enough money doing it to, you know, make a legitimate living. So, and no one has the money to do this. So, I do love this house, though. It deserves somebody to care for it. So that sucker is me. I think maybe this would be a good place to stop this video. I'll try to edit it, get all the garbage out of it, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the flapper. I'll kind of work backwards, and then I'll introduce you to what it's like when you first start, you know, if you're really that bad off like I was. So I've got to think my way through it, but I'm gonna be on this for a while. So I've made a ton of videos and I haven't released any of them, but maybe this should be the first series because you can kind of get into it. All right, if you like this kind of content, I really appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe for more. Thanks.